What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, October 13th, 2023, which means Jason is somewhere at Camp Crystal Lake safeguarding it from them ignorant PC teens that want to come there and act a fool. But shout out to everybody that is in here so far. Shout out to everyone. It is 42 people in here so far. Make sure y'all go ahead and smash that like button, smash that share button as well. If you are new to the channel, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the bell twice, so you'll be notified whenever I go live or upload a new video. Shout out to all of my patrons over there on Patreon. I believe I uploaded a video yesterday or this morning. I can't remember if it was yesterday or this morning when I uploaded it, but y'all definitely recently got a new video over there. Shout out to all of the members on the channel as well. We have a lot to discuss today, and it's a reason why I'm discussing so much today, and that is because I will not be going live next Friday. But I'll get into that a little bit more later as more and more people come in. But let's see who we have in here so far. Jay, the informant, Denise Scales. I am feeling much better today. As many of you know or may not know, yesterday my sinuses was going crazy. Good thing that I feel a whole lot better today, because around this time yesterday, I was feeling and sounding horrible. Like I probably would not have been able to do this live today. But good thing I feel a whole lot better. Shout out to Darlene, Hacksign KT, Mike Mellish, John, Scoop 2003, Volvo to Love, K Nicole B, Cool Spider, Donna C, DSB, Val Williams, Steve, The Hooligan, Herbert Scott, Tawana Cook, Ruben Faulkner, Pinky JYB, Carla, and Val, aka the Trouble Mint Twins, are in the building. Shout out to Dark Titan and 007 Spidey 2. I'm glad that you are all here. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about today. As a matter of fact, some stuff actually got added into this already long laundry list of things we're going to talk about, because the list of things I'm going to talk about today, it was already long, and I added about 5 more additional things like within the last couple of hours. And shout out to everyone who follows me, especially on X. Shout out to everybody in the Discord. That's another thing. I need to start shouting out the people that's on the Discord a lot more often, because the Discord, it gets popping over there, especially in that news chat. And also, shout out to everybody who has supported the merch as well. Y'all been going crazy over there. I get them notifications through the email when y'all purchase something, which I definitely greatly appreciate. I actually got a piece of my own merch that I will be wearing next week. I'll explain a little bit later about why I said that, and of course why I won't be going live next Friday, but I'll save that towards the end. What's going on, David O? What's going on, Charles Jameson, Eddie Lee? I almost shouted out the Nightbot, and shout out to Stay Positive as well. I hope everybody is having a good day. I hope everybody had a good week. Shout out B1 to you, Caldonia. But I hope everybody is having a great day and a great week. I know I had a pretty good week. Minus yesterday with me not feeling too good. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Rigel in here. Shout out to you. You're right about that, Carla. You cannot play with your health, especially when you can't breathe. Man, listen. I probably went through damn near a whole box of Kleenex because my nose was constantly running. I was congested. I kept sneezing. Yesterday just wasn't good for me, but I feel a whole lot better today. And I know where it came from. It's because I was helping my dad cut his grass. And that cut grass, I'm allergic to that. So when that's cut grass finds its way into my nostrils, from flying up, that is what will do it every time, because that has happened before in the past. So I pretty much limited down to that is what caused it. That's why I'm so glad that it's going to be getting cold soon. That way I don't have to revisit that until the spring. Let's see who else do we have in here. We have JT and we have Dewani. Shout out to both of you. And I'm glad that you are all in here so far. Like I said, we have a lot to discuss today. You're right about that, Val. As a matter of fact, I have my coldest water bottle sitting right next to me as I speak. I usually always have it with me, especially when I know I'm gonna talk for long periods of time, because sometimes you can get that cotton mouth and you get that dry throat, and sometimes you gotta hydrate. No, Steve, I didn't wear a mask. I know that's to my own detriment. So yeah, I'll have to keep in mind to wear one the next time. It's just the fact that of cutting that grass and that mask is like, wow, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, okay, do I wear the mask and then barely breathe, or do I not wear the mask and risk my allergies and my sinuses kicking my ass later? Big Black Line says, I tell everyone about you. Well, thank you, for telling people about the channel and telling people about me. I can always use new eyes. That's how this thing promotes itself. It's a word of mouth thing. That's the original way of promoting. Before social media, you had to go and tell people something. What's up, Gregory? What's going on? But yep, I feel a whole lot better. I sound a whole lot better. As a matter of fact, if y'all are on my Patreon and saw the video I uploaded yesterday, it was yesterday now that I think about it. If y'all could hear it in my voice, for those of you who are subscribed to my Patreon, to that video, and y'all saw or heard it, y'all could probably hear the congestion a little bit in the video. I had to pause it a couple times because my nose kept running when I was recording. And thankfully, that was the only video I recorded that day. I said, yep, I have to take a break. Give it about one more minute and then we're going to go ahead and get started, because like I said, we got a lot of ground to cover today. We got some updates as well as some current stories as well, some that you may have heard of, some you may not, and that is all good because we're going to break it all down today. And for those of you who missed the live, you can always catch the playback when the live is done and at your earliest convenience. Exactly. Like, do what Thick Black Line said and hit the thumbs up button. That should be always like one of the first things you do before you leave a comment. What's going on, Savion? Okay, y'all. It is officially 6:10 p.m. So now we are going to go ahead and get this thing started. Now, this one right here, when I saw this on Instagram, someone actually sent it to me on Instagram. I can honestly say I was not surprised or shocked by this. So, as y'all know what's going on overseas, I'm not going to get into all of that detail. Shout out to everybody that was in the live stream that I did about Amari Stoudemire and unexpectedly threw Floyd Mayweather into it, as well as one of the last survivors of Tulsa in that live stream that I did a couple days ago. Y'all ran the numbers all the way up for that one for sure. So shout out to y'all. But look at this right here. This was tagged to me or sent to me on Instagram literally a couple hours ago. And I said, I'm going to just go ahead and throw it in here. It says NFL teams to take moment of silence before games in light of attack on Israel. And when I saw this, I said, oh, and I looked at the picture. I was like, oh, well, we all know what happened to the last football player that took a knee. He's no longer in the NFL. Now it's okay to bring politics into sports now. Now let me give you a little disclaimer. This picture that they used is only just I guess you can say, how can I put it? This picture that they used to echo this caption is not from what they're going to do. However, what is said right here in this caption is what's going to happen, because in an article that I'm going to pull up, it's stating that they're going to do the moment of silence for these upcoming weekend games. So all the games that are happening on Sunday, which we all know Sunday, football is the day that has the most games airing. So it's going to happen on Sunday for every game that they do. I don't know if they're going to take a knee or if they're just going to do the moment of silence thing. Either way, it's going to happen. Now, weren't these some of the same people that said don't bring politics into sports? Weren't these some of the same ones that said that? I could have sworn they were. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the article so we can get some more context. Now, this was posted yesterday, Thursday, October 12th, 2023. NFL team starting with the Chiefs to have moment of silence for Israel before week 6 games per report, which are the games that are coming up this weekend. Teams across the NFL will recognize victims of an attack last weekend in Israel with a moment of silence before each week 6 game, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The Kansas City Chiefs will be the first team to host a period of remembrance ahead of their Thursday contest against the Denver Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium, which happened yesterday. So it started yesterday and it's going to carry on through Sunday and most likely to Monday. Innocent civilians were killed. I'm not going to read all of that. I mean, by now we pretty much got the gist of it. But it says multiple teams have expressed a similar sentiment in varying words, as noted by Yahoo Sports' Jory Epstein. So far, these teams include the Arizona Cardinals, Atlanta Falcons, Baltimore Ravens, Carolina Panthers, Cleveland Browns, Kansas City Chiefs, which they already did, Miami Dolphins, Minnesota Vikings, New England Patriots, New York Giants, New York Jets, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers, and the Washington Commanders. So as you can see, they will all be doing their moment of silence, yet, again, this is for another nation. But when Colin Kaepernick took a knee for police brutality, oh, he was being unpatriotic. Oh, how dare he do this in the middle of the anthem. Oh, they need to get rid of him. Oh, they need to fire him. Oh, we're the ones that help pay all of his bills. Oh, we remember what they said back in, 2015? We remember everything they said. But you want to know what's interesting, and I'm not going to pull the tweet up on X. Adam Schefter, who was this person right here, people went in on his tweet, basically saying, y'all are a bunch of hypocrites. Y'all say don't bring politics into sports, yet that's exactly what you're doing. You're literally saying we're going to do something that's happening for another nation. When is the last time that the U.S. had, the NFL, was limited to the NFL, has done a moment of silence for something that happened here? The only one I can think of is 9/11. Maybe Hurricane Katrina, because that happened right before the season began. Because I'm trying to remember. Those are the only two I could possibly think of. 9/11 for sure. Maybe Hurricane Katrina. And that was back in 2005. That was 18 years ago. But when Colin Kaepernick took a knee for what's happening currently, it was a problem. The hypocrisy is real. But then when you look around the league and look at who the owners are, then it all makes sense. And if you dare do it in the honor or remembrance of something that happened with black people, well, then if we're talking about the NFL, then you get the Colin Kaepernick treatment. I made that post on my X account. I'm starting to get into the swing of things. I'm calling it X instead of calling it Twitter. I got a lot of engagement under that post that y'all just saw, and I had to leave this article for context so people didn't think, oh, it was fake. It's very real. I'm curious though. Y'all don't have to watch it, but you know, it is what it is. I want people to look and see what each of these teams do on Sunday. I want to know what they did. I'm just curious. To answer your question, Herbert Scott, too many to count. But if y'all thought that was something, check this tweet out. Look at this tweet right here that was posted up October 10th, 2023 from a woman named Daniela Greenbaum Davis, which of course the tweet has now officially been deleted because people check the hell out of her. She says, Jews marched in Selma, Jews marched for George Floyd, Jews showed up for Black Lives Matter, BLM is a disgrace. We will all still be there for you guys next time because that's who we are, but now we know who you are. Really let what I just read to you marinate. The unmitigated gall of this chick to put this out there on the internet. This goes right back to what I was talking about with Amari Stoudemire. It's not just Black people that are not jumping on board with this. It's a lot of different groups, but you got to make sure you target Black people to get your so-called point across. And she made sure to throw BLM in there just like Amari did as well. We know what it is code speak for, even though Black Lives Matter, the vast majority of its supporters look just like her. Stay positive. You said the usual suspects are still at it and will always be. And guess what? We have to call them out on it because many of them feel like they can do this and still be a victim. But you post stuff like this and you think we're supposed to just drop everything we got going on? No. Like I said, her post got deleted. Well, she most likely deleted it because people flamed her. I'm saying the ego behind him. And shout out to Harvey over at Your World, because he talks about this all the time. He talks about this all the time. We supposed to just drop whatever it is we got going on, and everyone knows we got a lot on our plate, way more than we can handle, but we deal with it at the end of the day. But you want us to just drop what we're doing to come and rush to your aid? And if we don't, we're anti this and we're anti that. Val said BLM doesn't represent all of us. I support the message, but not the organization. And that's the point. It's code speak. It's code for Black people. They are mad because we're not falling all over the place behind this. We're not in line. We're not falling in line. What does the Beyonce say? We're not getting information fast enough for them. Because it's not enough to say, let's hypothetically say that Black people felt bad about what was going on over there and said, we feel bad and all this, that, and the third. It wouldn't even be enough for Black people to just simply say we feel bad. We'd have to go the extra mile like Floyd Mayweather did and throw some supplies on a private jet and send it over there. And even then, that still may not be enough. So guess what? I press hard on the brake. And they can say whatever they want, but guess what? It ain't going to get me to move. We got what we got. We have a lot on our plate over here that we're dealing with right here to worry about what's going on over there. My thing is this: if you have such a big problem about what's going on over there, why don't you put on your boots, put on your fatigues, your helmet, your goggles or whatever, get your power tool, and you go stand on the front line with them if you feel the way that you feel. I bet you they won't do that though. And shout out to Blacklight Revelations for kicking off the super chats for the day. $9.99 super chat. I appreciate it. He said, appreciate the content, bro. Who will match my appreciation? Shout out to you. And if you haven't hit the like button, please be sure to do so. We are only 22 minutes in, and I got a lot more to go. Shout out to J Cage for the $5 super chat. He said, B1 to the fam. I'm late, but I'm here. Well, you're not that late. We still early on in this thing, but thank you. I appreciate you for being here. So, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, they can go on their merry way and get far away from us, and they can go ahead and do their own thing and leave us to our own devices. Because no matter how much support, hypothetically, we give them, it'll never be enough. Or it won't be to their liking. Oh, well. Shout out to Denise for the 50 super chat. He said, I match Rob. I appreciate it. Followed by Carla Lockert with the $10 super chat. Wow. I appreciate the love, y'all. I really do. I really do. Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. I told y'all, if y'all follow me on X, I told you this was going to be a blitz stream today. So you see how I'm coming in with these haymakers. This is how we starting off. So y'all can only imagine where we are headed from here. Shoot, you know what's so crazy? I got so deep into this live stream, I forgot to put my glasses on. Okay, we good. Shout out to Val Williams for the $10 super chat. Follow right behind her Troublemint twin Carla. I definitely appreciate it. But y'all, let me go ahead now and move on to the next story of the day. Now, this one is very interesting. Now, we all know that the Asian American community, they could not wait to get rid of affirmative action this year. Like, they literally ran far and wide with this affirmative action thing for the longest time. And I'm sitting here saying, I said, they are having a joyous parade right now, but they going to regret this later. And it's crazy because it wasn't too much later that they started to regret it, because stuff started to happen soon after all of this started to occur. I was talking about it maybe like a week or two later, stuff was starting to happen. And I was like, wow, this is pretty fast, because I thought maybe it would have been like a few months from that time or a year from then. And now we have this story right here. Now, this is a screenshot, but I'm gonna actually pull up the actual article. But I thought this was very interesting. So the screenshot says, despite earning a 3.97 unweighted and 4.42 weighted GPA, scoring 1590 out of a 1600 on the SATs, and founding his own e-signing startup, Rabbit Sign, in sophomore year, Zong was rejected by 16 colleges he applied to. And shout out to Ballet Dancer New Jersey for the $49.99 super chat. Y'all are really running these numbers up. I very wholeheartedly appreciate this. Like I said, we are only in the beginning. We got a lot to go. Now, what I find to be interesting is the person who retweeted this is PC by the name of @growing_Daniel. They said, it's crazy that American universities can't have officially racist policies, but the victims are Asian kids, so we are all collectively shrugged. What did I tell y'all that was going to happen? Going back to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk kept mentioning whites and Asians, sort of like they have to do that whole black and brown thing. They are trying to link them to be some kind of a coalition. So now they're starting to, quote unquote, run into their aid. But my thing is this: y'all couldn't wait to get rid of affirmative action. So you can't blame it on what this Daniel person said, because it doesn't exist anymore. And see, the problem is a lot of Asians think that all they have to do is get these high GPAs or these high test scores, and that's going to be enough to get them into these colleges, these elite PWIs and what have you. No, they don't look at just your GPA. They look at the whole package. Like, what kind of extracurricular activities are you a part of? Are you the president of a club? Or were you part of like SGA, Student Government Association? What kind of community service do you do? They're not just looking at your grades and your test scores, and that's where a lot of them slip up. They're looking at the whole person. You have to have done something outside of just your academics. But this dude right here is trying to throw in the affirmative action angle, but you can't do it anymore because it doesn't exist anymore. I said y'all are going to regret getting rid of this, and they're feeling it now. But what's interesting about the story, because I got the article right here, is that apparently Google felt so bad for this kid that they ended up giving him a job at Google. Y'all heard that correctly. So he got rejected by 16 colleges, having all these, this high SAT score, this GPA and whatnot, and said, you know what? We feel bad for you, so we're going to hire you at Google. If that's not a pity party, I don't know what is. Because that just screams to me you didn't earn it. That just means they felt bad. They said Stanley Zhang, age 18, is a 2023 graduate of Gunn High School in Palo Alto. Despite earning a 3.97 unweighted and 4.42 weighted GPA, scoring a 1590 out of a 1600 on the SATs, and founding his own e-signing startup, he was rejected by 16 out of the 18 colleges he applied to. My question is, what's the other 2 schools that you got accepted into, and why didn't you go to either one of them? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What were the other 2 schools that you got accepted into that you did not attend one of those schools? And why didn't you go? It says shortly after the wave of rejections, he was offered a full-time software engineer, a full-time, y'all, full-time, not part-time, a full-time software engineering role by Google. So you're telling me all it had to take was you going viral, saying that you didn't get into these schools, even though you got accepted by 2 of them. You had these high SAT scores. You had these high GPAs. That's all it took. Mind you, they got rid of affirmative action that probably would have helped him get into any of those schools he got rejected from. That's what Sir Facton said, because they were HBCUs. You know what's so crazy? I can't prove that, but wouldn't that be interesting if that was the truth? Sir Facton brought up another point. No, they're against handouts to Black people. Keyword, handouts. Isn't that what they be telling Black people not to do? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Stop looking for a handout. What would you call this? It says on September 28th, Zhang's story was brought up by a witness testifying at the House Committee on Education and the Workforce hearing. The goal of the hearing was to consider how this summer's Supreme Court decision banning affirmative action in college admissions is shaping university policies that confound Zhang and his father. Okay, look at this. We got a list of the schools he was denied from and the schools he was accepted into. So these are the schools he was denied from: MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, UC Berkeley, UCLA, UCSD, UCSB, UC Davis, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Cornell University, University of Illinois, University of Michigan, Georgia Tech, Caltech, University of Washington, and University of Wisconsin. So those were the schools he was rejected by, but they also listed the 2 schools he was accepted by: University of Texas and University of Maryland. Do you realize I would have? Do you know how many schools I got rejected by before I ended up at the school I went to, and not once did I complain? And I'm glad I ended up going to that school because I made a lot of lifetime memories there, as well as some lifetime friends who I practically consider family now. Which, let me put a pause right there. That's why I'm not going to be going live this upcoming Friday, because I'm going to be at my homecoming. I haven't been to my school's homecoming since 2019, and I will be in attendance next weekend. That's why I won't be going live next week. So y'all know, so now you know why I'm not going live next week. Of course, I'll put it out on the community tab saying that there won't be no live on that Friday. He made it seem like University of Texas and University of Maryland are bad schools. But I guess it didn't look good on the resume to say that I went to the University of Texas or the University of Maryland. Let's see here. It says his father shared the story on some parent chat groups and blogs and has gone viral amidst the national conversation on elite college admissions, acknowledging that Stanley may have simply been extraordinarily unlucky. The Zhang say they're sharing his story to spark conversation about making college admissions more transparent. So now, because your son didn't get into these schools, now you want to switch some more things around. Why don't you just leave well enough alone? If you would have did that the first time, you probably wouldn't be in the rut that you're in right now. But anyway, that I told you their biggest doing would be their greatest undoing. And here we are. Good question, Herbert Scott. He said, how many black students in honors get turned down every year? A lot. And you know what's so crazy about that, Herbert? They probably feel some type of way that the black students that did get in got in over him. I wouldn't be surprised. Now we are about to move on to our next story, and it's actually our first update story of the day. Now, this is a story I didn't get a chance to talk about, but man, it made waves over the summer when it happened, and that is Carly Russell. I feel like I don't even have to ask if y'all remember who Carly Russell is, but I know it's a lot of things that have happened since Carly Russell. And this is like mid-July when all of this happened. You know, she was the one that basically faked her whole kidnapping. Well, the update with Carly Russell is that she was found guilty for the hoax she pulled back in July and was sentenced to a year in jail. Now, there are some people online that are debating whether or not she got the right sentencing or not. Some people are saying she got this 1 year deservedly, and there are some people that feels that she should have gotten more. But I'm gonna ask my chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel they got this sentencing right, or put a 2 if you feel she should have got more than a year. Okay, I'm seeing a mixture of 1s and 2s in here. I'm seeing more 1s than anything. A lot of people feel that the 1 year she got, and I believe she also has to pay like a $17,000 fine as well. Some people said that she should that she should have got more than a year. 2, and it said the mom should go to jail 2 for lying. 2, okay, 2s and 2s. All right, so it's a mixture. I'm seeing 1s and I'm seeing 2s. Let me tell you why I'm not mad that they gave her a year. And I actually put this in a Discord server that I'm in. We live in an establishment where people who violate other people get less time. Let's keep in mind, Brock Turner got 3 months. He was supposed to do 2 years. Then it got knocked down to 6 months. Then it got knocked down to 3 months. He almost didn't have to serve any time. We live in an establishment where a 13-year-old can steal his parents' car and go joyriding drunk and take out 4 people and not do any jail time because he has quote unquote affluenza. This 1 year that she got, hopefully she can reflect on her own ignorance and stupidity. And I'm gonna be honest, I think the 1 year also taxed on the fact that there were resources that were used, money, to quote unquote look for her. The only person that she harmed was herself. So that's why I'm not even mad they gave her a year. But I'm glad that they did give her some time, because they could have easily just gave her probation. Easily could have gave her probation. Made her do some community service and pay a fine. Most likely would have never seen the inside of a cell. But let this be a lesson, because what she pulled was one of the most dumbest things you could do, especially as a Black person in this establishment when there are so many missing Black people right now that they barely want to find. It just says the judge found her guilty and she was sentenced to spend a year in jail and pay nearly $18,000 in restitution. She was found guilty on 2 misdemeanor charges related to the case. I don't have to read anything further. So there it is. That's probably what pissed most people off more than anything, is the fact that there are a lot of missing Black people, both men, women, and men, women, and children of all ages, that they barely want to go and look for. And the moment that they do want to try to find someone, which was her, she pulls this stunt. And to this day, I'm not entirely sure, but we still don't know why she did it. Outside of just wanting attention, I don't know what her motive was. At this point, I really could care less to know. I can go the rest of my life not knowing why Carlee Russell did such a dumb thing. Moving on to the next story. Now, I want y'all to check this out right here. This story is wild. Let me see if I can get it back to the beginning and enlarge my screen. And we can go ahead and play this.
A teenager is dead, his father behind bars.
Authorities say the two were doing drugs together before the teenager died. Reporter Micah Hatfield explains now the charges he's facing.
Apparently, after the father and son took drugs together, the teen had a medical emergency. His father, Emilio Dominguez, according to authorities, did not seek medical help for that child. Because of that, Dominguez is charged with injury to a child by omission.
We expect more of parents.
Expect more than authorities say 36-year-old Emilio Dominguez did for his 13-year-old son at the end of August. Authorities say the two were taking drugs together, and they were told Dominguez gave the teen a pill of some sort.
There was some initial toxicology that did show that this child who died did test positive from the initial toxicology with fentanyl in his system, benzodiazepine, and marijuana.
The prosecutor says it's tough to say if he took something that was laced with fentanyl or if it was known to be the highly dangerous drug at the time, but the story does not end there. After taking the drugs, the teen apparently had a medical emergency where he had trouble breathing.
Someone in the house said, hey, why don't you try to take care of this kid? He doesn't seem to be doing well. And he didn't. He said, oh, I'll just sleep it off. And the next morning, that's when he called 911, and he was subsequently pronounced dead.
Dominguez is charged with injury to a child by omission, but the prosecutor says that could be upgraded as they learn more. Earlier this year, Governor Abbott launched a dashboard tracking fentanyl-related deaths statewide. It breaks down how many people have died from fentanyl poisoning by sex and age. It doesn't even go as low as 13 years old, the age of the victim in this case. The closest age range is 15 to 24.
Let me pause it right quick because I was curious if they was going to do this. Okay, so they have it here. Fentanyl poison related deaths by sex and age group. They got male and female. They got the ages, but they didn't mention. Put in the chat which part they left out. Put in the chat which part they left out. They mentioned the age. They mentioned the sex. Put in the chat which part they omitted from this news report. Y'all are on it. They didn't mention the race.
Down how many people have died from fentanyl poisoning by sex and age. It doesn't even go as low.
You want to know what's interesting? If you look right here, I know it's kind of grayed out, but if you look where my cursor is, it says fentanyl poisoning related deaths by sex and race or ethnicity. If they would have kept on scrolling down, we would have seen the race or ethnicity.
Low as 13 years old, the age of the victim in this case. The closest age range is 15 to 24. Already this year, there have been 154 fentanyl-related deaths in that age range.
Dominguez's bond is set at $150,000. Court records show he has done time in prison before for drug and weapons charges. In downtown, Micah Hatfield, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, so that's that video right there. Hey, Larry Elder, is this one of those dads you say that are so good? You know, because apparently black dads are crap, or growing up in a fatherless, whatever nonsense he be saying. This dude was doing hardcore drugs with his son. Let his 13-year-old son take these drugs and then told him to sleep it off, to which he died from a fentanyl overdose. And then to learn that he had done time in jail for drug charges before, I think we can safely say that we see a pattern here. That is wild. That is crazy. This dude deserves every level of punishment he gets or consequence he receives when he goes behind that wall. Clown World said he's going to prison as a child abuser. It's over for him. Oh, yeah, most definitely. They already know before he gets there what he did to get in there. Shoot, he might be going to the same prison he was in before when he was locked up for drug possession charges at one point in time. So they may already know who's coming. Daugherty Titan said this moronic tattoo-faced thug is Larry Elder's favorite person. Most likely. Most likely. And it's crazy because this type of story right here is what helped catapult my channel. If y'all were around on my original Torian Rain channel, that unfortunately is no longer in existence, these type of videos right here is what helped catapult me into the algorithm. Let's move on to the next story. We are headed down. I don't know where we headed down, but in California. We talked about Google, giant tech company, but now we're about to talk about another company, another tech giant, a giant that's actually bigger than Google, and that is Apple. Shout out to all of the Apple users. I have an iPhone. Shout out to everyone who has an iPhone, an Apple Watch, a MacBook, an iMac, whatever else Apple runs, which is a lot. Apple TV, all that good stuff. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how these brothers, it said they conned the company for over $6 million. I don't know what they're doing over there at Apple for them to actually get away with something like that, but that is insane. It's a lot of cons and scam artists floating around today, recently. Y'all know I did that one video about that postal worker in DC who stole like almost $2 million of customers' checks. I saw another story that I posted up in on my X account and on Instagram where this lady was dumb enough to send this man $15,000 with claiming to be Johnny Depp to get a wedding planner. I'm like, you stupid as hell. Like, why would you send $15,000 to someone you thought was Johnny Depp? Do you think Johnny Depp needs $15,000? Straight goofy. But anyway, let's look into this. Uh-oh. I scrolled down and I saw the names. This is going to be so funny, y'all. Man, this is going to be so funny. A federal judge in California this week sentenced two brothers to 41 months in prison each after the pair admitted they scammed Apple out of more than $6 million in an 8-year-old iPhone and iPad international conspiracy scheme. 8 years. 8 years is how long they've been doing this. Peep the names, y'all. Jiting Liao and Jimin Liao. I'm guessing they're brothers. Oh, they are brothers. Duh. Age 33 and 36. Asian, y'all. The model minority is doing something not so model. Remember, this is who they want us to be like. Both from San Diego pleaded guilty on June 2nd to conspiracy to traffic in counterfeit goods for trafficking fraudulently, obtaining iPhones and iPads, according to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of California. Online records show Judge Cynthia Bashant sentenced the brothers on Monday. The men and a third brother, identified in court papers as 34-year-old Jiwei Liao, were indicted in October 2019. Online records show Jiwei Liao also pleaded guilty in connection to the case in June. He's slated to be sentenced on October 30th. For years, the Liao brothers and their co-conspirators trafficked thousands of counterfeit Apple products in exchange for genuine Apple products, totaling millions of dollars. FBI Special Agent in charge Stacey Moy said in the release. The brothers' wives, 32-year-old Dao La, 31-year-old Meng Zhang, and 39-year-old Tam Nguyen also pleaded guilty. Oh, they had a family operation going on over here. Pleaded guilty in June to charges of wire fraud and mail fraud in the case. Kelly Thornton, a spokesperson for the office, said Thursday. All three wives were sentenced to 3 years in prison. Under a plea deal, the brothers and their wives agreed to forfeit 5 San Diego homes, more than $250,000 of profit from the scam, and more than 200 Apple iPhones, prosecutors said. The phones the release continues were counterfeit, fraudulently obtained, or linked to the group's criminal conspiracy. According to prosecutors, the group ran an organization to traffic counterfeit Apple products from 2011 through at least August 2019. The Liaos imported counterfeit iPhones and iPads from China that looked genuine and included identification numbers that match identification numbers on real iPhones and iPads that were under warranty and had been previously sold to customers in the United States and Canada, prosecutors said in the release. At the direction of the Liao brothers, prosecutors drove co-conspirators who also pleaded guilty and received various prison times in the case, traveled to hundreds of Apple stores across the U.S. and Canada and attempted to exchange more than 10,000 counterfeit iPhones and iPads for genuine iPhones and iPads. The Liaos exported fraudulently obtained iPhones and iPads to individuals in foreign countries for profit. The estimated total infringement amount or loss suffered by Apple was approximately $6.1 million. Now, it's crazy because they have their names mentioned in here, the brothers, the other brother, and their wives, but we don't see no mugshots. Don't protect them now. Now, that's a scheme for you. Here I am thinking what the DC carrier in Friendship Heights did was crazy. They had a whole operation going on over there. They had a whole family thing going on. Exactly, Till Dog, 5 homes. That is, I keep telling y'all, this is why I put these stories out there, because if I don't put them out there, not to toot my own horn, a lot of y'all wouldn't know. Since mainstream media don't want to talk about it, or they love to talk about us all the time. Exactly, Watcher. These are the so-called model citizens. So according to the word to the letter, we're supposed to act as they do. So that means if black people did this, then, you know, we're just following their lead, right? Right? I'm just saying. Sir Fact said PCs probably got jealous and reported them. Probably. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were involved. But let's move on now to the next story. Now, this is a more tragic story right here, but it also involves another one of those water deaths, as I like to talk about, or call it. And I meant to actually talk about this last week, but I forgot. Involving this woman named Tamia Taylor, and basically how she went missing and they found her body in the Mississippi River. If they say that she committed suicide, I already don't believe it. But they said their autopsy is complete, and her cause of death was a drowning. Okay, that's what they say. It says the body of a young woman who recently celebrated her 21st birthday was tragically discovered on the Arkansas side of the Mississippi River on Saturday. RadarOnline.com can confirm that Tamia Taylor's autopsy is complete and her cause of death was a drowning. The Crittenden County coroner told us the manner of death is undetermined, and toxicology report results that await may reveal more to the story. To me, Taylor's case took a devastating turn after she was reported missing on September 10th, leading to a 16-day search after she was seen boarding a Memphis riverboat to celebrate her 21st birthday. She failed to return from the midnight booze cruise with her friends, operated by Memphis riverboats, which said they have no evidence that Taylor fell overboard that evening. Why does this part right here sound so much like that story that I talked about that happened in South Carolina back in 2020, where that black guy went on that boat with all them PC people and he went over, and then they came back with a bunch of different stories and not one of them was charged? My tinfoil do-rag is tingling right now. When the boat docked, all that was found of Taylor was her cell phone. Law enforcement said they do not suspect foul play, but the investigation is still ongoing. Taylor's body was identified by authorities Tuesday after it was discovered on the Arkansas side of the river. In the wake of the tragedy, her grieving mother, Deborah, spoke out and thanked the Memphis Police Department and other agencies for their help in trying to bring Tamia home, revealing she is leaning on her faith during this unfathomable time. We're going to thank the world for all the love and support they've shown us, she said on behalf of the family. I prayed along with other people that prayed with us, and he gave me what I asked for, comfort. Deborah continued, God is still in control of this whole situation. Something seems real fishy about that. Her friends came back, but she didn't. And they said there's no evidence that she went overboard. Okay. Good point, Carla. The guy in Idaho too, the one that was there with his Mormon girlfriend, and she had invited him to a Mormon wedding. You knew that wasn't going to fly. And then he went missing. And then they found him turned up in the river. I keep telling y'all, these water deaths that involve black people, I'm telling you, their last moments didn't happen from them drowning. Right, Scoop? Always with the water. Whenever it comes to water deaths and it involves black people, I always get suspicious after getting some of the details that they put out there. Because something seems real sus about this story. Thank you, Miss Renee. I forgot his name. Everett Jackson. He went to Louisiana State. I think he played on the basketball team. But yeah, I think it's more to the story than they're telling. Definitely way more. Because it's easy to say, oh, they just drowned and that's it. But hopefully there's more stuff that'll come out about this. But I don't know if it will or won't be. Let's move on to the next story. Now, I know y'all love to send me stuff out of Florida because y'all feel like it's a running gag or it's a running joke. But this one right here goes right in line with everybody does not deserve to be a mother. So you have this woman right here whose name is Alison Daugherty. She's 41 years of age, and it says she abandoned her son, who's 2, in a running car to go swim and quote unquote meet sharks. Who thinks of that? Really, honestly, who thinks to leave their child in a car, whether it is running or not, to go swim in the water with sharks? This unhinged chick right here. A Florida woman was arrested after she abandoned her 2-year-old son in a running car so that she could go swimming and quote unquote meet sharks off of a local pier. Alison Sarah Daugherty, age 41, was seen parking her car and turning the radio up before getting out, jumping into the water and swimming for approximately 20 minutes while her child was in the vehicle. People were screaming at Daugherty to get out of the water, with multiple people realizing that the young child was left alone in the car because she could care less. They began shouting at the woman, beckoning her to get out. They also warned her that there were sharks in the water as well as fishing hooks, and she could end up seriously injured. Maybe that's, you know what, that probably would have been for the best. Alison Sarah Daugherty didn't care about the danger. In fact, she told witnesses that much from out in the water, claiming that she wanted to get hooked and would want to meet sharks. I need to know, was she on something? How many lines did she do before she made this decision? It says it took a local Marine unit to get her back to dry land. When deputies from the Lee County Sheriff's Office arrived, Daugherty is said to have swam further away and refused to come in. Eventually, the Marine unit retrieved her from the water and brought her in. And it says this wasn't the first concerning incident. An employee at Captain Khan's Fish House, a local restaurant, said that they had seen Daugherty and her son multiple times that week at the restaurant and were concerned about her odd behavior, especially given the child's young age. We called the sheriff's office. She didn't seem drunk. She didn't seem intoxicated, said employee Jenny Ray. Something was just off. If it was me and that was the situation, I would want somebody to take my baby in and make sure he is safe. Well, I guess the good thing is that she didn't go over and throw her child into the water. Who remembers that story out of Florida a couple years ago where it was this family that went to Disney World? I think it was Disney World, and they was at one of the resorts, and they said after a certain time, do not come past this area because there are alligators that swim near here. What did they do? Take their toddler over to that area, and y'all can pretty much what happened next to their child. It says Daugherty was taken to the Lee County Jail and charged with 1 count of child neglect. It is unclear how she intends to plead and whether or not she was released. My goodness. And yes, she is smiling from ear to ear in her mugshot, like she hit the lottery. Man, like I tell y'all, it is some unhinged people out here, and they need to take her child away from her. The worst part about it is if this child doesn't have any relatives that probably live nearby, that child might end up in the system. But if y'all will notice in the coming days, there are a lot of stories that I'm bringing to y'all about these unhinged mothers. Y'all saw the video that I uploaded today about the woman that gave her daughters melatonin laced gummies and deleted both of them while they slept. One of them called the police and tried to do something, but she ended up dying on the phone. Now you have this, I don't know what to call this, out there trying to swim to meet sharks while leaving her child in a car. Let's move on to the next story, man. Like I tell you, it's some wild people out here. And you know what's so crazy? How I talked about how I'm going to my homecoming next week. I will completely understand if people tell me, Torian, please be safe down there because of what just recently happened at Bowie State University. Now, it's crazy because last week I talked about Morgan State University. And Morgan State, like Bowie State, is not only in the state of Maryland, but they're also an HBCU. And I said, now something seems a little fishy. And both of them happened during the week of their homecoming. I said, people who go to Howard or University of Maryland Eastern Shore, y'all better have your head on a swivel when your homecoming comes up. Because at Bowie State University, they said they canceled classes following a homecoming shooting. 2 people had got shot at Bowie State. It was no casualties, just like at Morgan, but nonetheless. It says officials in Bowie State University in Prince George's County, Maryland, have canceled classes for the rest of the week following the shooting that happened on campus over homecoming weekend. This comes as Maryland State Police said they need help finding the people responsible for the shooting that hurt 2 19-year-olds and are offering a reward of $2,500 for a tip that leads to an arrest and an indictment. The university said classes for the rest of the week are canceled to provide additional time for everyone to address their mental well-being. We encourage you to take this time to connect with resources, reach out to friends and loved ones, or seek support if needed. University and student leaders met Tuesday to discuss additional steps to support students. The 2 19-year-olds who were shot Saturday are recovering from their injuries. The victims were not students at the university. On Monday, the school held a community conversation at the Student Center where University President Amanita Bro said that the school is looking at all aspects of security. Spidey said, my cousin goes to Morgan as a freshman. The incident happened at her dorm. Oh, well, I'm hoping that your cousin is all right. I know that probably shook her up a little bit because that's like really, really close. But yeah, like I said, you got to be on guard at all times because you just never know. And that's the thing. That's the one thing about a lot of HBCUs is a lot of them have a very open door policy. Like very open door, like anybody could walk onto the campus. At least that's how it was when I went to school. But yes, I will definitely be safe because I would love to come back here and when I do my next live stream and tell y'all about how my experience was down there for sure. But yeah, it's something weird. But on another note, it's something really weird going on where this is the second HBCU. It's in Maryland, just like Morgan, and it's happening during their homecoming, just like Morgan. Like I said, those at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, at Coppin State, at Coppin, and Howard, y'all homecomings are coming up, and Howard better be definitely on the lookout because Howard always has Georgia Avenue jumping during their homecomings. Take it from somebody who's been to one of their homecomings. I didn't think I was going to survive it. Not in the sense of, we know what's going on here, but because it was too lit. Like you gotta really prepare to go to a Howard homecoming. Anyone who has gone to a Howard homecoming, whether they were a student there or not, knows their homecomings are off the chain every year. But let's move on to the next story. And now we are heading back down into Florida again. Now, this story right here, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm kind of glad that nobody talked about this yet at least to my knowledge. And if that is the case, I am so glad that I will probably be one of the first people y'all hear about this story from. If y'all want to see what PC privilege really looks like, peep this story right here coming out of Florida. Now look at the title. 3 baby-faced Florida teens arrested for credibly threatening to shoot classmate on a kill list. The title alone, y'all. The title alone. We know for a fact they are not talking about black teens. And yes, they have their mugshots, by the way. I'm going to pull that up. Police arrested a trio of 3 baby-faced... I'm stuck on that part. Baby-faced Florida teens for credibly threatening to kill classmates named on a lengthy hit list. The St. Johns County Sheriff Office said investigators discovered group text messages that identified targets they wanted to physically harm or murder outright. Keep in mind, they're calling them baby-faced, y'all. Nikita Calantropo, age 15, Ron Quinones, age 14, and Carol Narad, age 14, allegedly posted pictures of their targets with their faces circled, along with aerial photographs of Creekside High School. St. Johns County Sheriff Robert Hardwick said the hit list was created for select students the group wanted to physically harm, and the lethal hit list was created for students that the group wanted to kill. The group chats also included a picture of the suburban Jacksonville area school with a specific on-campus location circled and discussed the use of firearms. Interesting. Jacksonville, didn't somebody in the chat, please jog my memory. Didn't something just happen in Jacksonville at the end of August? Like I said, there's so much stuff that happens and sometimes you can forget. But I feel like something happened in Jacksonville a couple months ago. Deputies arrested the 3 boys for written threats to kill or do bodily harm, and they were taken to St. Johns County Jail for processing. Students were pulled from classes earlier this week as the investigation advanced, and the families of the kids on the hit list were notified. Creekside Principal Stephen McCormick said in a message to parents, "Nothing is more important to me than the safety of our children, and this is another example of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office commitment to protect the more than 50,000 students who attended classes on a daily basis," Sheriff Hardwick said in a statement. Now, they have their pictures. There they are. These are the so-called 3 baby-faced terrorists. Baby-faced where? But like I said, they have the privilege of being called that even though they created a hit list. And of course, you have the one model minority in the mix. Again, baby-faced where? I'm just saying. I am proud of the youth services deputies assigned to this investigation who acted quickly on the information that was provided and prevented a potential tragedy. The St. John County School Superintendent Tim Forson urged parents to keep a close watch on their kids. "We have recently experienced behavior on social media and phones that is unacceptable. There appears to be a lack of understanding of the serious nature of threatening statements that have been made." He also urged families to alert authorities if they become aware of suspicious correspondence. "Please remind your children to speak up when they see something that concerns them." Meanwhile, officials said Friday that they investigated social media rumors of a gun being brought to another high school roughly 40 miles away in Clay County. While no weapon was found, the issuer of the threat was identified and disciplined. Middleburg High School principal Martin Aftuck said in a statement to parents, the threat stemmed from an off-campus fight, authorities said. Please continue to talk to your children about the seriousness of these types of actions, and we encourage students, if you see something, to say something. Exactly, Miss Renee. Babyface thugs. And notice they didn't call them that. But that's fine, because we can. Exactly, Val. There's that white and Asian coalition that Charlie Kirk wants so bad to be a thing. Moreover, I would like to know, who were they targeting? What was the demographic of the kids that they were targeting? I want to know the gender as well as the race. I'm just curious. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. And this is another update story involving Elijah McClain. Now, we all know the story with Elijah McClain. Shout out to Professor Black Truth, because he did his Moment of Truth Friday crime report on this morning. If you haven't watched it, I highly suggest that you check that out. But the update with the Elijah McClain situation, well, story is that one of the two terrorists that was involved with his murder was convicted. Only one of the two. God only knows why the other one wasn't, but only one of them was. Jurors convicted a Denver area police officer of homicide Thursday and acquitted another of all charges in 2019. In the 2019 death of Elijah McClain, a black man who was put in a neck hold, pinned to the ground, and given an overdose of the sedative ketamine by paramedics. Aurora police officer Randy Rodema was found guilty of criminally negligent homicide and third-degree assault by a 12-person jury. They found Officer Jason Rosenblatt not guilty. Rodema, who kept his head bowed after the verdict was read, faces up to 3 years. Up to 3 years. So it doesn't mean that he'll get all 3. Just up to. In prison on the more serious homicide charge, Rosenblatt hugged his supporters as he walked out of court. McClain's mother listened to the verdict from the front row, where Attorney General Phil Weiser had his hand on her shoulder. Shanae McClain held her right hand high in a raised fist as she left the courtroom. I'm going to be honest, that raised fist would have turned into a hook across one of their faces. I'm just being completely honest with you. Exactly, sir. Factin, a whole entire 3 years. Chicken Little, the sky is falling, as they say. This is the divided states of America, and that's what happened, she said as she walked away from the courthouse. McClain had been stopped by police following a suspicious person report as he walked home from a convenience store. His name became a rallying cry and protest over racial injustice in policing. Rodema and Rosenblatt were charged with manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, and second-degree assault, all felonies. However, the jury, as it went into deliberation, was asked to consider a lesser form of assault for Rodema, the one he was found guilty of. A third Aurora officer who applied the neck hold and 2 paramedics were indicted on similar charges, but the paramedics have more counts. The officer's trial begins Friday with jury selection, and the paramedics are scheduled for trial later this year. Rodema and another officer who was not charged held down McClain while paramedics administered the ketamine. Rosenblatt's attorney had pointed out during the trial that he was not near McClain at that point in the confrontation. Prosecutors allege Rosenblatt held McClain's legs when he was on the ground, but stepped away shortly before the sedative was administered, while Rodema held McClain's shoulder and back. Rodema, the most senior of the 3 officers, was often visible in the body camera footage shown over and over again to jurors. At times, he seemed to be directing others what to do. I'm not even going to read the entire thing because it's like, for what? You can list all of that stuff there, but they both technically still got slaps on the wrist. Scoop 2003 said this is justice for them. Yeah. Well, I take it back. Not for one of them because he actually got time. So that's, even though he only got up to 3 years, not 3 years, but up to. Like they actually injected this man with something, with ketamine. That doing nothing to nobody, minding his business, going on his way, and this is how he meets his end unexpectedly. And shout out to the fundraiser for the $5 super chat. He said Christopher Dorner and Micah Johnson were right on how to deal with police like this, right? And they want to act so surprised and shocked about what they did. And Gavin Long too, we got to throw him in there. Then they want to act surprised and shocked by what they did, or they want to act surprised by Christopher Dorner's manifesto. Act surprised and shocked all you want to. Yeah, but this isn't quote unquote justice by far. By far, it is not. Because I can remember seeing the pictures when they were taking like the selfie and smiling, and I have to believe that's after all of the altercation happened. So they found joy in that. If only they could get caught slipping. That's all I'll say. Next story. Now, this is another update. Now, this is a story that I've been following since the beginning, and that's with Tyre Nichols. I can't remember the last update that I gave because it's been a while. But remember, I've always said whenever the other side does not have a case, they will start digging stuff up or pulling things up that has no merit at all for the case at hand. And that's exactly what they're doing right now with Tyre Nichols. Look at this headline. Lawyer, Tyre Nichols had stolen items, hallucinogenic drug in the car when Memphis police pulled him over. So what? And if that was the case, why wasn't that mentioned back in January when this happened? You mean to tell me you waited until October for something that happened back in January to bring this up? And we don't even know if this is true. And even if it is, that doesn't warrant this man being tortured to death. But like I said, this is how you know they do not have a case to get those terrorists off who beat him to death. If this is what they have to pull out. Again, where was this information in January? Not that it would have mattered even if they mentioned it in January. This has no bearing or justification for why this man is dead. None. Because guess what? When they decided to beat him and do all these things, we heard and saw that unfortunate body cam footage. Nowhere in there was it mentioned on any report that he had stolen items or a hallucinogenic drug in the car. In no report did that ever come up. That's not even why they beat him to death. Now I want y'all to be completely clear when I say this. These were black cops that did this to this man. Yeah, we know it was a PC cop there, and we knew they was going to let him off the hook. But these were 5 black cops that did this to him. And they are pulling out the thing that they usually do with PC cops when it comes to another black person. What does that tell you? It doesn't matter the skin color of the person wearing that uniform, but as long as they're wearing that uniform and they're torturing a black person either to death or near death, we will try to pull out all the stops to get you off. Let's see what they're talking about. A lawyer for one of 5 former Memphis officers charged with fatally beating Tyre Nichols after a traffic stop said in court documents that investigators found a hallucinogenic drug and stolen credit cards in a black man's car when he was pulled over, but authorities have not confirmed the claim, so they don't even know if it's true. A lawyer for Justin Smith said the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation's inventory of Nichols' car showed he had a psilocybin, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it, a substance found in mushrooms when police stopped him in January 7th for an alleged reckless driving violation before he was beaten during a confrontation caught on police video, beaten to death or beating that led to death. And my thing is this, again, if y'all knew he had that, then why are you just now mentioning it? You can pull up any article from back then, if you can find it, and it mentions none of this. And I've read several articles about this story for weeks, and none of them mention anything about a drug or stolen credit cards. The lawyer Martin Zumak said the ex-officer's attorneys learned from a review of the inventory that Nichols had stolen credit cards, debit cards, and photo identifications in his car. The lawyer made the claims in a court filing, joining another officer's request for prosecutors to give them Nichols' cell phone records as a part of the federal civil rights case against the 5 former officers. Authorities have not released information about what, if anything, was found in Nichols' car when he was pulled over near his home. Nichols ran away from officers after he was hit with pepper spray and a stun gun at the location of the stop. According to the video and statement from authorities, the officers caught up with Nichols and then punched, kicked, and struck him with a police baton. And shout out to the fundraiser for the $5 super chat. He says, have you talked about Susan? No, that's gonna be a separate video. The person you're talking about, that's gonna be a whole separate video. I already recorded it and everything. They said they've all pleaded not guilty to all of the charges, and they said he died in the hospital 3 days after the beating. The inventory cited by the attorney has not been made public, and the TBI said Monday that the file is considered confidential under state law. An autopsy report showed Nichols died from blows to the head and that the manner of the death was homicide, but it does not say that Nichols had psilocybin in his system when he was beaten. Exactly, because that would have shown up in the autopsy report. The officer said Nichols was pulled over for driving recklessly, but police officials have said there is no evidence that support that claim. Just a bunch of lies. I don't even have to read the rest of this. We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to dirty up his character so it could look good on them to hopefully, if not get them off, get them lesser sentences. They can miss me with that. Going to sit up here and try to insult our intelligence. Nope, not falling for it. Like I said, if all of this was present, why didn't they say all of this back in January? Why wait until October? Again, because they don't have a case to get them off. We've seen this song and dance be portrayed several times over, and they continue to do it. Now I have one more thing that I have to show y'all. And this is actually going to make y'all laugh. You know, I had to end it off where y'all could get a little chuckle. Who heard about what happened to Tommy Tuberville? Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about what happened to good old Tommy Tuberville. That's okay if you haven't, because we're going to play the video anyway. And trust me, y'all are going to get a good laugh out of it, whether if you've seen it or if you have not seen it. So apparently, Tommy Tuberville, I don't know, he was going somewhere and he was getting off the plane. And let's just say he had a Joe Biden moment. So I'm gonna play the video for y'all so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Playing it one more time. So yeah, Tommy took a tumble, and as you can see, the person who uploaded it, they titled it Tommy Tumbleville. That's what he gets. And shout out to the person who recorded this and uploaded the raw footage and didn't put like any type of music behind it or any kind of extra stuff behind it as well, and just let the video just play out in its entirety. When I saw this video for the first time on X, I laughed so hard because he hit a couple of steps. He gonna feel that in the morning. He gonna feel that in the morning for sure. But could you imagine if those railings were not there? If those railings were not there, that man would have been tumbling down all of those stairs. Man. But yeah, I felt like it was a good thing, you know, a good way for me to end this stream on a more lighter note, something that'll get a good laugh out of the people. And with that being said, y'all, we have made it to the end. We have made it to the end of the stream. Shout out to everybody who came through. Shout out to everybody who hit the super chat. Blacklight Revelations, JK's, Denise, Carla, Val, Ballet Dancer, NJ, and the fundraiser. I'm glad that y'all are supporting the channel. Shout out to all the members on the channel. Shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. Shout out to everybody in the Discord. Shout out to everybody who is supporting the merch. I greatly appreciate it. We will be back on here tomorrow at 12 p.m. I'm sorry, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the one upload for the day, and I'm sure y'all are going to really enjoy it. I'm going to put the premiere window up once this stream ends so y'all can go ahead and see what that's going to be hitting on. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a safe weekend, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Be safe and be one.